the damage. Even if you set, if there's no damage, there's really no point at all. So I really like EVOS just snatching the Corki right away, because once you lock in a Braum, usually you're expecting Kinemon to lock in a Kaisa as well for the 2v2. This means BURIRAM doesn't have to lane swap. They can play comfortably in the 2v2, and EVOS now defaulting to this Gragas, which could still potentially be flexed towards G4, considering that again, he has played utility, he has played engage for the squad. Valdez again falling back into this Fiora. It has worked wonders previously as well, but what are the other options for EVOS for Rich? Because again, he had a shaky performance in the Gragas, so maybe, just maybe, this time around it's different.
They're going to do it again, aren't they? They're going to say, look, we've wiped off the curse. You know, 2 games running it back as a Gragas. I'm feeling good. I played a game of Galio. It's been banned away. I'm going to do it one more time. I feel like, you know, the good luck charm is around us, and I hope so for his sake, because, you know, you've made sure that this bot lane matchup now is going to be as exciting as ever. Galio removed, Braum locked in instead, and a Gragas that needs to be on point. We were critical of him because he felt like a bit of a passenger. It looks so much better in that last game, but Riku, please, the Gragas can't end this way. Maybe the 3-1 curse is true. You've got the power to remove the technical pulls. You've got all the power. Maybe it's going to happen. Maybe you've broken it.
We'll see. I mean, I would love my prediction to still be right, but that's out of the window. So, as I voted 3-1 in favor of EVOS.
Yeah, well, we're going to see, you know, yes, we don't feel too comfortable with Rich on the Gragas, but they do have Valdez on the Fiora. We do know that that is an EVOS esports special. Maybe that is their good luck charm coming into game number 4. Let's find out. Casters, over to you guys.
Thank you, Mika. And like you mentioned, it's the EVOS esports special, it's the BURIRAM United special, it's the staple, it's what they go for, it's what we love to see. Don't you agree, TJ?
It's Wonder Bread. Other bread brands available.
I do not understand that reference.
Yeah, they're not very good bread. See, now they won't think that they've sponsored. Anyway, it's normal plain bread. You put it in the toaster, you're gonna have a decent breakfast. And that's all that's going on here. BURIRAM are playing through their traditional style. They're going to wait till the late game, and their plan is to win the late game through Archony and Kinemon and their team fighting prowess. Over on EVOS, it's their bread and butter as well. G4 is going to push in through the early game, try and snowball Valdez and Thipper out ahead. If they go to late game, EVOS will rely on Catsatan's Corki to carry the late game team fighting. Here's the question, same as it was last game. Can they do that? Can G4 and Valdez start the early game strong? If they do, and Archony gets knocked behind, and Shiba gets knocked behind, this is hard mid-game, hard early game for BURIRAM to fight. But it's a little better than it was last game, because they've got the Braum for supporter instead of a Lulu, because they've got the Kaisa for Kinemon, which will allow them to fight a little bit early alongside that Braum.
And that's why I kind of felt like a disconnect between what BRU have been doing for the past 2 games and the 3rd game, where they brought in the Lulu, and it just seemed like not having supported on some form of a tank, some form of a lineman, if you will, against EVOS esports engage. Like, we've seen him play the Galio 2 games in a row. It just was such a different take, a different look for BRU.
Yeah, it was interesting to me because it was either Lulu or Thresh were the 2 picks I was thinking through, because they needed some kind of tank, and Lulu isn't a tank, but she makes other characters a tank, so it's kind of the same thing. I say kind of because it's not and it's bad, but quote me on that. But it was interesting to me that supporter didn't pull out the Thresh, because I kind of frankly expected Thresh to fulfill that role. He gets Braum here, and that's much stronger, that's much better at stalling out games. The big marker for me is going to be whether or not BURIRAM can contest early fights, whether or not BURIRAM can survive early fights, because that's, of course, where EVOS absolutely shattered them during Game 3 of this series.
Oh, here we have it. We're going into the arena.
Yeah, we do have a little bit of a technical pause, unfortunately, as one of the players disconnected as we're loading in.
Right.
So I'm going to send things back over to the analyst desk for a hot second. As we have been told that they're ready to receive us and have a quick conversation about what has happened during that technical pause set up for the next couple of minutes.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's just been a good kind of run going into this one overall, and we're just making sure that everything is going to be all right going into this game, because it is that very important match, right? EVOS esports have now been able to pull back, and this was a surprise for us because BRU, you know, the fact that they were able to take those first two games were an impressive one. EVOS, now we're starting to see them come back up the speed You to mention last game, you finally saw a composition that you like from EVOS. I mean, how are you feeling about this second one as well?
This is the same thing, right? It's very functionally the same composition. They're going back to the bread and butter that made them in the first place. They're going back to the EVOS that was so successful regionally, and I have been a little bit surprised at the EVOS Esports eye that we've seen so far in this tournament. Their various performances have frankly looked a little underwhelming compared to what EVOS brought to bear during the Summer Super Cup. So this is, I think, a very good test of whether or not EVOS can still hit that key form that got them so far previously, or whether or not they're falling to the new blood, to BURIRAM's seeming ability to stall out any game and get into the late game.
And this is surprising to us because, you know, going into this, right, BRU, they kind of had a long journey through the competition. EVOS, they had an easier time. They were already seeded in, and so they were able to just play things out directly. BRU, to us, when they were drafted into Bracket A, we were surprised to see that, right? We were surprised to see them going into Group A looking like as strong as they were. Top of the group, were able to dominate things from that side of the bracket. Now going into this one, you know, it is interesting for us to see for sure.
Yeah, and BURIRAM plus EVOS is such a fun regional match, but it's also just the regional match. And one of the big storylines in this tournament is going to be, of course, the same as it was last tournament. What happens to these really powerful-looking Thai teams when they play against Vietnam, when they play against the Taiwan region? And so much of this is just harkens back to what happened during the Summer Super Cup, where, of course, EVOS went to the Grand Final, won the Grand Final, are the reigning champions, because we're seeing these very slow, very steady game plans versus teams that are also playing slow. You're looking at SBTC, they're not going to wait around. They're not going to let you play the BURIRAM style of play. So there's a lot of kind of question marks still floating above this game, if you will.
True. Let's see if there's any new adaptations or there's new growth. I mean, it's two teams that are very experienced against each other, playing against each other once again. And so there is an argument to be made that this is them going back towards the comfort picks, going back to a style that they are most comfortable with. And, well, if there's any chance for more growth and more adaptations, well, this is going to be it. As EVOS Esports, well, they're facing off against BRU, who are at match point 2-1. Let's get it.
2-1. BURIRAM one game away from upsetting the regional champions, from sending the reigning champions of Southeast Asia down to the lower bracket. EVOS on the other side, maybe starting their comeback. They would need 2 games themselves, of course, 2 in a row, to win this best-of-5 series.
It's revenge of Noel here, perhaps. Tipper's gonna force him out once again. Want to mention very quickly as well, Kinemon's gone down to the bottom lane. Archney has gone down to the bottom lane. Kinemon's gone to the mid lane as well.
Yeah, they keep doing this whenever Archney's playing Orianna into G4, into G4's Ahri, because Orianna into Ahri, same reason as Twisted Fate into Ahri, it's just miserable. The Ahri can get up close and land charms, and you instantly die even at early levels. So it makes sense that they're putting the Kai'Sa there instead of the Orianna. And it makes sense that they're sending a lot of resources down bottom, because again, what EVOS want to do with this composition, with their default style of play, is get Baldus and G4 out early as this roaming mid-jungle duo. That's what defines EVOS Esports. That's what defined their previous SEA championship.
But here's what I'm seeing right now, TJ. EVOS Esports have got control of the map early on. Tippo's winning his lane. G4 is shoving it out. Veldus has got bot side Scuttle Crab and top side Scuttle Crab now. Both of those available for Fiora, who's likely going to become a massive threat in the mid to late game, where Shiba, well, is kind of losing some tempo, especially since he had to make sure his bot lane was safe there.
Yeah, I mean, there's a caution here, though, which is that BURIRAM can stand to lose quietly for the first 15 minutes of this game. If they lose quietly and manage to keep the gold deficit, it's right now dead even, but if they manage to keep the gold deficit to within 1,000 or 2,000 for the entire game, then they probably win late game off of Orianna Kai'Sa teamfights. Orianna is that good if she's on parity, if she's at a decent point when we get to the late game. So
I'll have to look to the top side now because they found Tipper.
Wow.
And looking at the heal, they might be able to take down Noel. The barrier comes across, but still first blood to the Jarvan.
That's what I'm going to say. This is what BURIRAM really want to do. Get a little bit of extra credit on that assignment. Turn in the paper a day early, you know what I mean? And if they can find those kills, and they can be that guy that everyone hates in class, then all of a sudden their late game's looking very good. Here's EVOS trying to accelerate G4 though. He's going to take the tour down to the bottom lane for the second time this game. This is the second time this game that G4 and Valdez have shown up down bottom. And it's the second time this game that BURIRAM have been ready for it and not given them any opportunities. Very good signs for BRU.
Freeing up a lot of space for the top side to get work done, while the bottom man playing towards the weak side because you are running that Orianna Braum don't necessarily have that fight potential early on. Like you mentioned, you get that 15-minute mark, then well, you're good to go. EVOS Esports now, they've been doing a good job enabling G4 to roam around, but they haven't been able to convert that into very much. As a result, though, you do see a substantial gold lead building for G4 over Archony.
And I do want to also give a pretty big amount of credit to the top lane, where Noel, or every game this series, has been in tank jail. He's just playing Jarvan, which is not a character that can do damage, and you might be like, man, Noel's such a talented player, it sucks to see him on characters that don't do damage, but he has actually just played this lane masterfully. He's been so careful, baited Thipper in multiple times, always been relevant in late game team fights. He's killing it on Jarvan duty.
Oh, absolutely, and in EVOS Esports, I think they've kind of acknowledged it as well. You've seen how aggressively Tipper has had to play. The fact that Valdez is paying so much attention to that lane in many of their games. I mean, this game is a bit of an exception, though.
I mean, the fact that every time we've come up to that top lane, Thipper has been, like, trying to fight Jarvan underneath turret, and of course you can't do that, just speaks to how well Noel is playing that lane, how well he's controlling it. Even though he's had to leave lane because Dragon's up, and this might be the start of the fight. Of course, the winner of this runs away with an early game lead. EVOS want to pretty much wipe it. That's why they're forcing this fight, starting the action early. BURIRAM want to contest, but it's okay if they don't win this fight. And they're just looking for
Shiba's going to jump into the pit either way, but he's facing off against 5. Doesn't realize how many are going to be there waiting for him. Characters doesn't come across. Shiba secures the dragon. They've taken it away. EVOS Esports running for the hills, running for their lives. Tipper going to get caught by the stun. The concussive blows will stop him in place. And EVOS Esports have to get away.
And that's huge for BURIRAM. That's huge for the upset. As BURIRAM have won the early game team fights, they've earned that extra credit I was talking about. And with kills onto Valdez and Thipper, their second kill onto Thipper, the early game snowball that EVOS want to start rolling downhill, as they always do, is nowhere in sight. It's a hot summer day, Granton, and all the snow is melting, and EVOS are going to need to wait until the hyper late game and rely on Cat Satan, their insurance policy, to win this game.
And we've seen the performance he can perform for us when he gets to that point. So it's not too wild to assume that EVOS Esports might play to that. But even as I say that, look at how aggressively they're stepping up, making it difficult for BRU to collect the Rift Tower because they understand, well, we can still win a fight here. There's still a good chance that we can take the fight to BRU, collapse in on them with our big key ultimates. Instead, EVOS Esports, well, after I say that, they're going to back away. They're going to spread out.
Yeah, they can't fight right now. And unlike the last time that we saw this kind of setup, unlike the last time we saw the game being pinned on a Corki AD carry, BURIRAM have the damage to match. They've got this Orianna who's going to really scale into the late game team fights, especially right now where she's ahead. And it's very hard for EVOS to match that with an Ahri who's a single target duelist and can't team fight nearly as well.
Well, they do trade turrets on the other side. Valdez is receiving a lot of gold.
Look at the push from BURIRAM.
Specifically.
BURIRAM keep pressing this advantage, though. They're still going.
They jump onto Rich first. Tipper's going to pull them away with the upper hand. Rich still survives. Concussive blows not applied anymore. Won't be able to take anybody down just yet, but it's stuck under turret. We'll have to see if Kinnamon's going to jump in. He fires out the plasma shot. Won't continue, though.
And Thipper demonstrates his class, demonstrates why he's one of the best top laners in the world there. Saving his teammate and denying the effectiveness of that Cataclysm from Noel, but of course all his teammates still needed to reset, so this mid-turret.
EVOS Esports, they're trying to jump in now, but watch out for the Glacial Fissure because it's going to stop you right there. Velda's unable to secure the first kill. Noel comes across with a flagging drag. Kinemon faces off against the Grand Challenge, but survives with the Catherine Rain, but flashing forward with the charm. G4 nearly takes him down. Supporters, stand behind me. The wall will keep him alive.
supporter comes through, and he keeps Kinemon alive. And that might have saved the game for BURIRAM, or at least saved their lead, as it means that EVOS can't build up the snowball. They're still looking though, but Archety's here, he'll have the wave clear, and EVOS can't press down the mid turret. If they kill Kinemon, EVOS absolutely can chip away at the mid turret, absolutely can take team fights for the next couple of moments. So it is massive that BURIRAM deny that, even in the face of EVOS's best efforts.
Smart move from Archie to use the shockwave to clear the wave, not get baited by the opponents, because you're not going to get a kill there anyway. The best case scenario is you clear the wave, there's nothing for EVOS to do, they have to reset. Look at him, they backed off, and BRU have come in, stolen the blue buff. I mean, just why not, right? But now moving on to Valdez again, and looking at the repulse, flash of the wall, the charm is waiting for him in the face of Shiba, who is going to be able to dash away with that key burst.
G4 with the charm to interrupt this cycle, to interrupt the combo. Really well played. But EVOS, they're playing really well, but they're playing from behind. They've matched this game state incredibly. The fact that Valdez got a split lane turret earlier and they mitigated the aggression for BURIRAM, all remarkable. But the facts of the matter are still BURIRAM's gold lead growing, EVOS's gold lead not looking so good. They're now behind 3,000 gold. And if you remember, their only hope really in this game is that Cat Satan, the boy down bottom, and the little biplane gets so big he can single-handedly win team fights. They do have other threats. They do have G4, but if we get to the late game, he's not going to be able to match what an Orianna can offer.
And it's going to be so important to make sure that Cassian is alive in a lot of these fights. He's still a ways away from his boot items completed, so he's not going to be able to, well, drop off any kind of crowd control, survive against an initial engage. He's really going to have Rich be there to provide that support and make sure that this engage is available for him. Dragon's going to be up both sides, eyeing it down, unable to commit for it just yet.
And I want to highlight something else as we head into these team fights, which is Archony is one of the best Orianna players I've ever seen. He's really good at playing at the very end of his range, at hovering at the back of these fights and just throwing damage out through the team without being at personal risk. So pay attention to that, pay attention to Archony on these kinds of control mages, because it's really hard to fight into.
And it's a very different situation from what we saw in the third game, where Archony wasn't quite available or quite online. Looking like a potential engage to get the shockwave off. It barely cleaves off Cat Satan. We'll have to see if there's going to be enough. Flash away from G4 because he realizes the threats are there. Chasing them down, but they've taken down Anthony as well. Valdez making quick work of the backline. The repulse will buy some time. They find the second. The tank down on Noel. And here we have it. EVOS Esports coming back in. They turn tables. Find the hatch onto BRU and get the gold star from TJ.
Valdez and Zipper, the top side, down gold, behind in the game. It does not matter. BURIRAM go over-aggressive, and they leave Archony, they leave Kinemon undefended because Noel hard commits, because Shiba hard commits. They're digging so deep that they don't notice the flack from Valdez, the flack from Zipper. Watch this. They all engage, and Valdez, right underneath that replay box, just full commits onto the backlines, completely ignoring the dime. He knows what matters in this fight is that he sets up for this. Dipper cleaning up the backlines. That is beautiful, and that is why you can never count EVOS out of a game.
Incredible moves from EVOS Esports, who, despite the fact that have been playing from behind, have made incredible macro rotations to match against BRU now. As I say that, they're going to jump back onto Tipper, who's had to expand the barrier already. He's looking low, has to flash away. You still see G4 and Valdez acting as the front man, the lines to block against them, to save Tipper. BURIRAM United unable to find a kill there.
They're going to keep pressing, though, because they know they have an advantage on the map.
Oh my goodness, Rich might not have such a nice time, not so much left to say. It's Noel that takes him down.
And whenever you get someone low like that, BURIRAM do there, they get a player very low, that player needs to recall. So even if you don't get a kill, you can keep pushing like you did. When you get a kill, when you force someone to back, you've gained tempo, and you should be doing this.
They find tempo and they go into the mid lane, they take down Tipper. That's 2 pickoffs already for BRU, and we'll see what they can do with this tempo.
They're going to keep shoving. They know they still have a player advantage because they kept snowballing these kills. Here's Valdez.
They're working on the turret. Valdez comes in, tries to make an admirable move to keep BRU away, and they will. The turret's still standing.
If you get a kill and the other team didn't do enough damage to force your players to reset, you should always be doing what BURIRAM are doing. I see a lot of teams, especially teams that are newer to competitive play, resetting after they get a kill. That is the opportunity where you have to press your advantage, and BURIRAM understand this. And every time they get a kill in that chain, they go, okay, well, we now have another 30-second timer that we've just started. That is until EVOS can fight us with parity. That is until EVOS can fight us in a fair fight. And we're going to keep pressing that advantage until we go a link too far, until we go a bridge too far. And that's when BURIRAM fall back. Valdez does a little bit of damage, and they're like, okay, we can back off. We won this trade. Very good play from BURIRAM, and it regrows that gold lead. The gold lead died. It was down to 3K. Now massive again. Look at that.
I love the vision line that we just saw from BRU, by the way, TJ. It just expired, but they had a great line of vision in the jungle of EVOS Esports. So now you can see they know where the opponents are, they know where the aggressors are, so now they get to be the aggressors. They jump in. Rich is going to have to commit the explosive cast. That's also the package used just to disengage.
Down bottom, there's a 1v1 duel happening as Thipper goes all out versus Valdez. Or sorry, Thipper goes all out versus
Noah. Oh my goodness, there's no way. There's no way the soul kill comes across Captain Rain. Not enough damage, and the plasma shot barely misses.
Yeah, we're not quite there yet. Deep breath, Grant, and we're not quite there yet.
I'm a little bit hypey here.
It
TJ,
is scary, though, because BURIRAM are about to get what would be their third dragon of this game. And with this spike of gold, Kinemon should be at full build. And this is it. This is the moment where BURIRAM kind of come online into the late game form that I said was going to win them this game. So EVOS need to start a fight now. It's not going to get any better for them. They're relying again entirely on Cat Satan. But now also they do have Valdez in with a shout because he's kept his gold relatively good, all things considered.
Shiba's far away from the rest of his team. Those gonna have to watch out. G4, no! Spirit Rush has to flash over the wall, but he still have to deal with Shiba. Beautiful plays coming through from this ribbon, TJ. I'm loving this. He's gonna go down, though. Has to flash away, has to use the dash, and he still falls. Valdez on his tail is not necessary there.
What a play from G4 as well. The charm stasis. Absolutely incredible 1v1. The ignite saving his life. And here we go, 4v4. EVOS want to press this advantage with Shiba down. They have even gold on Cat Satan as anyone on BURIRAM. He has about 11,000 in the bank. That's about parity with the most fed members of BURIRAM. You see BURIRAM around 12k, Cat Satan now around 12k. And that's a sign of just how well EVOS play to their own win conditions. Cat Satan, during games like this where he needs to farm up and be able to match in the late game, you'll notice he's not contributing to any of these weird skirmishing teamfights that EVOS have been doing during this time. Because he doesn't have damage yet. It's not his job to do damage yet. His job is to sit in side lanes and get farm and take jungle camps and kill minions. And he's been doing that so well and so effectively have EVOS enabled it that he's now equivalent to people who have been beating them for 6,000 gold for the last 16 minutes. And Cat Satan will be able, as a result of this, to actively teamfight, to go fair against BURIRAM. And that's why EVOS still have a shot in this game.
I mean, they're still looking like they haven't lost that fight in them. They're still trying to position against BRU aggressively, watching out for any chance they can get a catch, get a pick off, and maybe try to close out the goal gap again. BRU doing a great job setting up a strong line of vision, making sure that they have all the choke points cleared out so they're able to play towards their own strength, which are going to be these skirmishes, these fights with the Jarvan, with the Orianna, with the Riven coming in as well. I mean, it's looking pretty decent for them.
And over on the EVOS side, they don't want to take those skirmishes. They want to rely on the fact that they have the picks. They have Valdez, they have G4, who are so good at finding individual isolated players. Thipper as well. Anytime that they can catch somebody out by themselves, EVOS are winning.
Well, They're back onto the Baron now. First though, Flagon Drag comes across in the well, trying to build
Tipper
some
up
speed.
river.
G4 misses out the chance, so it's going to be a disastrous fight for them
Here's
to take.
Tipper.
Grand challenge, locks them back in. A beautiful knockback from Shiba. Tipper's now joining
EVOS
as well,
win this.
but they have damage to finally take him down. It's going over. The Kinemon coming online is the ultimate marksman. The ultimate marksman wins, and a triple kill and a double kill makes for an aces 2+3 TJ. It's simple mathematics. BURIRAM united on the victory march.
That's it! Archony arrives in the late game and lands a truly massive team fight ultimate, and BURIRAM will upset EVOS. BURIRAM will take down the best team in Thailand and the reigning